All right, next guest to kind of the Hale Sport podcast is Jack Maddocks. Now, Jack is a Wallaby. He's played for the Wallabies for the last 3 years, currently with New South Wales Waratahs, also been with the Melbourne Rebels, and has a really interesting story in rugby. Today, also joining me, Chris Gard again, and also our first 15 halfback, Nick Burgess. So, Jack, thanks for joining us, mate. Appreciate you giving up your time in the middle of what is partial lockdown in Sydney at the moment.
Hey guys, thanks for having me.
No worries. So what we'll do, Jack, is Nick and Chris will just fire some questions at you and hear what you have to say, and hopefully it'll cheer some kids up all across our state when they're at home listening to this.
Yeah, sounds good.
All right. Hey Jack, it's awesome to be able to finally talk to you. I'm Nick. I'll just start firing some questions at you. Can you tell us a bit about the sports you played as a teenager, both in the community and at school?
So my two main sports growing up were cricket and rugby, rugby union that is. So I was actually more of a cricketer growing up. Played that quite seriously. Played a lot of representative stuff. Often take up my whole weekend, and my parents as well. So I was very lucky that they would support me through that. And then rugby, I was sort of it was more of a hobby and about having fun to me than it was about, making a career out of it. That's sort of what cricket was to me, something which I wanted to pursue and, one day hopefully play for Australia. And then, and I played most of my rugby I played for, just school and my club, East Rugby down in Sydney. That was always, a place where I spent a lot of time growing up, having fun, just with my brothers and stuff, kicking the ball down the oval. And then for cricket, I was mainly all out of school. I played school, but that was sort of more because I had to rather than because I was serious about it. So I used to play for Grammar and Scots, my two schools growing up, and then South Eastern and a lot, New South Wales and all those sort of representative teams growing up.
Oh, cool. The rugby pathway seemed to do pretty well. Playing junior sport, what was the best sporting win you were involved in, and why do you think you still remember it to this day?
Best, actually, I definitely know which is the best one I've ever been involved in. I think it was an under-13s cricket grand final. I was playing for South Eastern, and we were playing Blacktown, who in Sydney, it's a fair bit out west. It's probably about an hour and 10 minutes on the road from where we were. So we bowled first, and they got 250 odd, which we'd played together for 4 years at this point. We'd never had, no one had ever got over 200 against us. So one of their guys got 100 and something, and I remember I was batting 3, and I was getting my throwdowns on the side of the field, and the second ball of the innings, our opener got bowled. So it was one of those things you think, we need a really good start here if we're going to have a chance, and then you get bowled. Our opener got bowled second ball, and it's like, here we go. Then I went out there, and one of my really good friends was the other opener, and we had a partnership of about 150 or something. We ended up winning the game. It was a 50 over game in about 45 overs, 4 down or something. And I got 100 as well. So it's, that'll always stick out to me. It's probably definitely my favourite sporting victory ever. Probably just because, we really didn't have a chance. And at one point we just had to dig in, and, I didn't think until about 35 overs we weren't really in the game, and it was also an important lesson for me going forward. I mean, in rugby you can be down on the scoreboard, cricket you can be down on the scoreboard. You just got to hang in there, and then when the chance sort of comes, you got the momentum, you got to make the most of that.
Yeah, that's a great story, mate. And that's Southeastern. That's with the minty caps, like the red, white, and green caps.
Yeah, the lollipop one.
Yeah, people over here won't understand, but they're the ugliest hats in world sport. But anyway, that's a clutch performance from you. Now I want to fast forward a bit. 2018, you were picked by Michael Checker, represent the Wallabies. Can Can you tell us, I mean, almost those circumstances, exactly when you found out you were going to be in the team, what that felt like, and then what you did for like the 5 minutes after that, mate?
Yeah, so I remember when they named the teams on Thursday morning. I think Czech was a big believer in naming the team really late so that, everyone would compete really hard at training throughout the week. But I remember I was on the laptops on Tuesday night, and because I grew up in Sydney and the Bledisloe was in Sydney, so on Tuesday night he just came up to me and said, just letting you know, you're in the 23 this week, just, so you can have an opportunity to sort of tell family and friends and sort tickets and all that sort of stuff. And I didn't really want to carry on anything because he's still in the room. So I was pretty excited, but I didn't really want to get carried away or something. So I just stayed on the computer, kept doing my analysis and all that sort of stuff, and tried to act like nothing had happened because I think there were a few of the boys around me who didn't know the team. So, tried to act like nothing was wrong.
Pretty cool. And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but the Wallaby tradition, is it after you play your game you get a cap, like your first cap? So who'd you get yours from, and is there anything you can share about what was said when you got it?
Well, I got the guy presented me mine was Tony Shaw. He was the I can't remember what his title was. I think he was the head of the Wallabies Old Boys Association or something like that. Yeah. And he actually travelled around to all our games. I think he's since retired in the job. Tim Gavin does it now. But so it was quite a sobering feeling in the change rooms actually. We just obviously lost with Bledisloe. It was on the first game, so we hadn't lost with Bledisloe, but we lost in Sydney. I think it was 1 or 2 points in at half time. We ended up losing by about 25-30. So, it was quite a weird feeling. I was on top of the world, making my debut and having all my friends and family there. But at the same time, it was a bad loss. And, obviously from the team aspect, I was trying to not, sort of seem happy or anything like that, similar to Tuesday night when I got told not trying to, let my emotions too obvious. So, it was a bit weird, but, I remember a few of the boys came up to me after, like Will Genya, and I remember specifically a really experienced player, and said, I know we lost. We had to travel to New Zealand really early the next morning. He said, I know we lost, but, you played your first game. And it happens once, hell of an achievement. So, mate, if you want to go celebrate, go celebrate. If you want to go out with your friends, blah, 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 your family, do that. So that sort of, gave me a bit of a license to enjoy the moment, that sort of thing. So, which was good.
Okay.
Jack, obviously playing New Zealand, you get to face the haka for the first time. What was it like having big Kieran Reid standing in front of you, going ham? And did you make eye contact with you or anything?
That's funny. I actually my first game in Sydney, I don't remember facing the haka, which is a bit strange, but I certainly do. The next week we played at Eden Park, which is obviously sort of the home of rugby in New Zealand, and it was packed out, and that was pretty intimidating. I remember, obviously their fans get right into it, and that was one of those goosebump moments where you think, shit, like, am I really doing this? Like, standing here at Eden Park, packed out, facing the haka.
Yeah, the crowd probably wouldn't have been very sympathetic, I would think.
They let you know about it whenever you lose or make a mistake.
So in that game, you came on the 53rd minute and scored a try 10 minutes later. I imagine that would have felt a bit surreal. What was it like just playing in the Australian jersey with the opposition and the crowd around you?
It was, it sounds a bit cliche, but, a bit of a dream come true, especially having the opportunity to do it in Sydney as well. I remember I was very, as I said before, Checker told me on Tuesday night that I'd be playing, and I remember speaking to the manager, a guy called Pat Mollahan. Normally we get an allocation of 4 tickets each, and he came up to me and said, mate, it's your first game. just however many you need, let me know and I'll get them for you. So I ended up getting about 40 off him. And yeah, to have all those guys there and stuff, to be wearing the Wallaby jersey was, it really wasn't something which sort of set in till later. I think, you're just sort of riding the wave, during that week and stuff and in the build-up. And yeah, it sort of didn't really seem real, to be honest.
Yeah, awesome. Jack, it's Chris Garrett here. In the last few years, you've obviously played with the who's who of rugby, Pocock, Hooper, Genya, the list goes on and on. We talk a fair bit at Hale about what it takes to be a top team player and a good teammate. Who's the best sort of team man you've played with and why was that person so special?
Yeah, it's a good question, actually. There's different types of team men I've played with, to be honest. I mean, some of the best team players I've played with are guys who, are in the extended squad and don't even play on the weekend just because they're, great personalities, always up, get the boys going and stuff, and in that respect. But in terms of performance, I'd have to say David Pocock. He's the most switched on guy in terms of his preparation. I've roomed with him a couple of times, which it was quite a bit of a wake up call, and a little bit weird for me at times because I'd be lying in my bed watching something on my iPhone or on Instagram or something like that, and he'd just be there stretching for hours. Or he had, obviously he was a flanker, so he'd a fair few breakdowns doing the neck exercises. He'd write in his journal every day, every morning and every night. He just never really wasted a second. I mean, he was so on top of his game. And I heard a saying a couple days ago, actually, which I think is really good in terms of being a teammate. It says, look after yourself for my sake, and I'll look after me for your sake. So it's not really about, it's sort of just saying be the best you can be for the team. It's not about, going out and looking after everyone else's business and sort of thing. Just be the best you can be, and, from a team perspective, that's all we can ask from you.
Yeah, really like that message, mate. It's a good one for our boys to hear, I think. In terms of sort of hiccups in your career at any point, or even potentially before your professional career, everyone sort of goes through them. Can you kind of give us a couple of those scenarios that might help some of our boys in their sort of sporting situations when something's not going quite right for them?
Yeah, I think a big one for me, the one that sticks out, would be when I was in my final year at school, actually. And obviously the boys who are going to be listening to this are schoolboys, so I don't really want to send the wrong message, but I went to a school in Sydney which was Scots College, an incredibly demanding sporting school, and I remember halfway through year 12 in Sydney, I'm not sure if it's the same in Perth, you sort of start year 12 in term 4 and do term 4, 1, 2, 3, and then your HSC. And so halfway through year 12, which was the end of term 1, they gave us a predicted HSC result. And mine wasn't too great, and it was a bit of a wake-up call for me. I'd been offered a scholarship to go to Sydney and play cricket, so I needed a good result to sort of get into there. And so I sort of made the decision that I wasn't going to play rugby or at a high level, because I remember in the first and second, at this point we were training 6 times a week, Monday to Friday, so it was like every day and twice on some days. So I sort of made that decision, and the school didn't really have it. They tried to sort of force me to keep playing, all that sort of stuff, and it ended up getting quite ugly, and people were, acting as if I was, spoiled and all this sort of ungrateful, and, throwing away my, I guess, whatever prospects I had as a rugby player. But at the time I thought I was doing the right thing, because, I was at school first and foremost to get an education. I think that's what, I was fortunate to go to good schools my whole life and private schools, and my parents had invested a lot of money in that. So, I really wanted to knuckle down and do well at school. And, and then I went down and just played club footy at my club in the eastern suburbs of Sydney the next year, purely just to have fun. It was a good way to meet people. I have 3 older brothers, and they'd all done the same thing. They played Colts down at East. So, went down there, and I, to be honest, I didn't really have any ambitions of, making a career in rugby. It was just sort of a passion of mine, and, a great way to meet new people. And things moved really quickly, a few good games, and you get picked in first grade, a few good games, get picked in New South Wales 20s. All that's a big snowball effect, really. But, it was quite... it seems weird. It seems like something out of a bit of a TV show in terms of controversial. Like, I remember a lot of my friends being like, "Oh, you're an idiot," blah blah blah. But I think for me, I just wasn't. When I was doing that, firstly, I wasn't there. I wasn't there because I wanted to be there. If I was playing at a high level of training all that sort of time, and I think that's my biggest advice whenever anyone asks me. It sounds a bit cliche, but just have fun, because, the moment you stop having fun, it's not worth your time.
Yeah,
I agree with that.
Great messages, Jack. Now, just a couple of questions to finish with, mate. One almost without notice, but I think back and heard stories, through a mutual friend of ours, Jake, that, you're the king of force things back. And for AFL people over here that probably have no idea what that actually means, it's like a rugby game where you're on the field and it's a kicking game, and you try and literally force the other guy back until they can't kick no more. Now, feel free not to be humble here. And when's the last time you got beaten at force things back?
Mate, to be honest, it will probably be not long before I started playing as a professional, because I remember when I was playing club and just growing up and stuff, you'd do your training Tuesday, Thursday nights with your team, and then that was it. So, all your spare time, you'd ring your mates up and be like, "Let's go down the oval, play a game, blah, blah, blah." And then, I haven't played a game in 4 years or something since I went pro. So, because you just train so much, and in the time off, it's sort of, it's better to rest your body. But I think this year I've started getting, through learning through other guys like Pocock, what I was talking about before, is that, I remember Quade Cooper, who's he was a great, sort of person for me to lean on. He said, everyone's doing the program. You go to training as a professional, everyone does that. So if you want to stand out, you got to do more. You got to be, I guess, set yourself apart from the rest. So I've started doing a lot of extra kicking this year. Which is, my kick's coming back a little bit because I lost it for a year or two. I had bad knee and stuff, but it doesn't really answer your question, to be honest. But
no, that's all right. I just think with isolation, you'll probably be ready for the taking, to be honest. Jake will want to take you down. Now this question's a bit of a reflection of your upbringing, and I tell people over here that Sydney, Eastern Suburbs is quite a good place to grow up, and we're on the cutting edge of fashion in Australia. Birkenstocks. So Birkenstocks are this thing which is kind of taking over Perth, straight out of biblical times. Do you own a pair? Would you ever be seen in a pair, and what are your views on them?
I don't own a pair. No, I would never ever be seen in a pair. And my views on them they actually aren't that bad. They sort of hit Sydney pretty hard as well about 2 years ago, and I remember everyone was wearing them. Someone said, "Oh, you should get a pair," and I was like, at this point, they hadn't won me over. I was like, I will never ever wear a pair of them. And so I think now I'm too stubborn that I can't go back on that. So I actually don't mind them, and I think they look pretty comfy and pretty practical as well. But I've ruled myself out. So.
Yeah, like walking a pair of Birks down New South Head Road, I'm not sure that fits. Last question. So we've got a meat pie controversy over here. Tuesday's meat pie day, where all the boarders and the staff get meat pies. And some of the stuff that our boarders do to meat pies is not really appropriate. Like, they take the roof off, they put the sauce in the middle, mate, and then they put the roof back on, or they just go straight with the fork.
My brother does that.
He does what? What does he do?
Well, when we were growing up, he used to cut the roof off with a knife, put sauce in the middle, and then get a fork and not put the roof back on, just eat the mince out of it.
Yeah, that's
the weirdest stuff.
That happens too often here. It's it's a bit disturbing to some staff. How does Jack Maddocks eat a meat pie?
A meat pie, definitely with tomato sauce. I just eat it normally, to be honest. I'm not, don't get too fussy about it. But my go-to is a steak, cheese and bacon. If I can find that anywhere, I'm very delighted. So,
awesome.
I'm actually not too big on just the plain meat.
Yeah, no, it needs sauce. All right, Jack, mate, really...
Eating it just the traditional way with my hands.
Yeah, and I like it. Now, mate, thanks for that. Really appreciate giving up your time. Hopefully, you and your family stay safe for the next weeks and months, and we'll see you back on the footy field as soon as we can, mate.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks for having me, guys, and anybody listening, stay safe. Cheers.
Thanks, Jack. Thanks, mate.
See you guys.
See you, buddy.